The Hollow Lodge Part 1. The road to Hawk's Perch Ridge wound through mist and silence. By the time we reached the final turn, the forest had swallowed the signal bars on our phones and the last trace of the world below. Only the sound of tires on gravel and the heartbeat hum of the Jeep filled the air. I remember laughing, because that's what you do before the wrong kind of weekend begins. The four of us, Reese, Dax, Gray, and me. A weekend away, one last attempt to forget what we'd lost and pretend we were still alive. The lodge appeared suddenly through the trees, a shard of glass and timber perched above a 400-foot drop. The fog rolled up the cliff like breath. The sign by the door read, "The Hollow Lodge, check-in 6:13 p.m." Inside smelled of cedar, dust, and something faintly metallic. The kind of place that tries too hard to look rustic. The kitchen lights hummed to life, flickering once, then steady. And there, taped to the fridge, a laminated page, House Rules. 6 bullet points in courier font. 1. Do not alter the table setting. 2. Do not sit at the head chair. 3. Keep all mirrors covered after sunset. 4. Lock the back door before midnight. 5. Never count aloud after dawn. 6. Leave together or not at all. Gray laughed. Airbnb's got jokes. He snapped a photo for his story. None of us thought to read them twice. We unpacked, Reese's camera, Dax's cooler, Gray's Bluetooth speaker. I carried in the bags and tried not to look at the drop outside the glass wall. The clouds were already gathering, snow flurries drifting though the forecast had promised 60 degrees. Feels wrong, Reese said quietly, running her hand along the window. Like the air's remembering winter. We drank, we joked, we tried to build warmth around the fire that kept coughing out sparks. For a while it worked. Music played. The storm didn't matter. Then, around midnight, I noticed something strange. The table had 5 chairs. I thought maybe Gray dragged one from the deck. But he swore he hadn't. Dax shrugged. Reese said maybe it had been there all along. Still, the sight of that extra chair, right at the head of the table, where none of us had sat, made my stomach twist. Its plate gleamed under the light, empty except for a faint ring, as if something wet had just been removed. I told myself it was nothing. When I woke the next morning, the snow was gone, but the cold had settled deeper. And at the table, there were 5 of us. He was already sitting there when I came out of my room. Early 30s, faded Hawk's Perch hoodie, bowl of frosted flakes halfway gone. He looked up and smiled like an old friend. "Morning," he said. "You sleep okay?" Reese froze mid-step. Dax blinked. Gray rubbed his eyes and muttered, "The hell is this?" But the man, Wren, as he introduced himself, acted like he belonged. His duffel was by the door. His boots were drying on the mat. And when Gray checked the photos from last night, Wren was in every one of them. In one, he was staring straight at the camera, eyes wide, mouth open in something between terror and warning, while the rest of us grinned around him. Reese's voice trembled. "Jayden, you remember inviting him?" I didn't. But when I searched my email, the reservation confirmation now read "Party of 6." And below that, a single note: "One chair remains empty." We counted, laughing nervously at first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th chair stood bare at the head of the table. The plate there wasn't empty anymore. A raw quail egg sat cracked open, yolk bleeding across the white china. Gray started to say something, but Reese cut him off, reading from the list on the fridge. "Rule number 2, never sit there. Never remove the setting." We stared at the chair. Nobody moved. The light flickered once more. That was the moment the weekend began to end. The Hollow Lodge Part 2. Wren stayed quiet through breakfast. The others tried to talk around him, as if silence could erase him from the room, but the more we avoided looking at him, the more the air bent toward him. His spoon tapped against the bowl in an even rhythm, like a metronome counting something we couldn't hear. I pretended to eat, but every sound in that kitchen felt too sharp: the scrape of metal on porcelain, the hum of the fridge, the creak of wood settling. The mountain was holding its breath. "Maybe he hiked here," Grace said finally, voice too loud. Got lost, wandered in. That's the thing, right? Ren smiled faintly. I've been here before. Reese looked up. When? He blinked. You don't remember? No one answered. Outside, wind brushed against the glass wall like a hand testing for warmth. We decided to hike down to the overlook, try to shake off whatever had followed us up here. But when we stepped outside, the footprints in the snow didn't match. 5 sets went out. 6 came back in. Gray laughed it off. Dax muttered something about trick lighting. Ren just watched the sky. By noon, the air had thickened, storm clouds pushing in from the ridge. I caught Reese staring at the shed behind the lodge, a squat wooden thing with a padlocked door and no windows. You hear that? She whispered. A sound from inside, 3 slow knocks. We froze. Dax shook his head. Nope. Not today. He turned to walk back toward the deck. Then came the voice. My voice. Don't open. I'm not ready. Count again. Reese screamed. The sound cracked through the valley like lightning. Gray bolted toward the lodge. I wanted to move, to run, but my legs were rooted. The padlock trembled, clicked once, then stopped. When we stumbled back inside, the dining table had changed. 7 chairs now circled it. The air stank of iron. On the table, 2 new plates. One held another quail egg, yolk bleeding across the white. The other, a small gray tooth. A child's. Dax swore under his breath. Nope. We're leaving. Now. But when we opened the front door, the fog was a wall. The trees were gone. Only the reflection of the lodge in red mist stared back. Reese covered her mouth. We're not supposed to be here. Gray grabbed her shoulders. We were never supposed to be here. We tried to call for help, but the satellite hotspot blinked red, no signal. Every device showed the same frozen clock, 9:30 a.m. No matter how long we waited, it never moved. By mid-afternoon, the light began to change. A dull orange bled through the clouds. The mirrors in the hall, ones we hadn't noticed before, started to hum faintly, like tuning forks. Reese approached one, hand trembling. If this is some kind of prank. Her reflection smiled back before she did. I pulled her away, but she screamed again. Jayden, look! Only 3 of us had reflections. Mine, hers, and Dax's. Gray and Ren were missing. We covered the mirrors with towels, blankets, anything we could find, but the glass pulsed underneath, like something alive. Reese flipped over the laminated sheet on the fridge. A new rule had appeared, scribbled in a different hand. 7. If the mirror forgets you, you have 60 minutes. We stared at it in silence. Gray was pacing, muttering to himself. Ren stood by the window, breath fogging the glass. When I turned, his reflection had reappeared, but wrong. The angle was reversed, as if the mirror remembered an older version of him. Maybe it's time, Ren whispered. For what? I asked. To finish what started. Then the front door opened. No one had touched it. The air that entered was freezing, thick with the scent of pine and old snow. A figure stepped through, wet footprints trailing behind. Caleb? Reese's voice broke. No, you! Her twin stood in the doorway, eyes black and glassy. He looked exactly as he had 3 years ago, before the fall. Same jacket. Same scar on his lip. But his skin was too pale, his breath a faint fog. The mountain keeps 6, he said softly. When one fades, it pulls another echo from the ridge. He walked to the table and laid down 5 papers, missing person flyers, yellowed and torn. Each photo was one of us. Different years. Different dates. Gray, 2018. Dax, 2019. Reese and Caleb, 2022. Me, 2024. Ren, no date, just the word returned. My stomach turned. This is insane. Insane? Caleb's smile cracked. You already died, Jayden. You just haven't remembered how. Reese shook her head violently. No. I buried you. You buried the first me, he said. Not the echo. The wind howled through the open door. Outside, the ridge bled red light. I could hear faint voices, ours, overlapping, echoing from somewhere deeper in the fog. Wren stepped toward Caleb. You shouldn't have come back. Caleb's black eyes fixed on him. You broke the rule first. What rule? I asked, but they were both moving now, circling each other like reflections trapped in different panes of glass. Rhys clutched my arm. Jayden, his shadow, look! Caleb's shadow stretched wrong, climbing the walls like smoke. It touched the mirror we hadn't covered yet, and the glass cracked. From the crack, something bled out. Not liquid, sound. A low, static hum that built into a scream. The lights exploded. Darkness swallowed the room. When the power flickered back, the flyers were gone. So was Caleb. Only the empty chair at the head of the table remained, the quail egg gone, the plate clean. The clock on the wall now read 12 p.m. And beneath it, in faint letters burned into the paint, a new message waited. 6 must stay. I don't remember sitting down, but I was in the head chair when I realized the air had gone still again. The others stared at me like I'd broken something sacred. Jayden, Rhys whispered. Get up. But the chair held me. My hands had sunk into the wood as if it were breathing. In the window's reflection, 6 figures stood behind me. The Hollow Lodge Part 3. I couldn't breathe. The chair had swallowed my wrists, wood pulsing like veins. I felt it feeding, on warmth, on memory. Each heartbeat slowed until I could hear the grain of the timber whispering. Rhys was crying, voice breaking through the static. Jayden, get up! Please! Dax grabbed my shoulder, tried to pull me free, but the instant he touched the armrest his hand blistered. The smell of burned skin filled the room. Gray shouted something I couldn't hear. Everything had gone underwater. The mirrors along the walls flashed, one by one, revealing us in different versions, laughing, dying, frozen in moments that had already happened. In one reflection, I saw myself rolling the jeep, the world flipping white and black, Rhys's scream swallowed by glass. Another showed the lodge collapsing. Another, a morgue drawer sliding shut. Wren's voice cut through the chaos. He's anchoring the echo! The chair's grip tightened. The wood around my fingers was slick, blood or sap, I couldn't tell. In the mirror nearest the table, Caleb stood again, smiling faintly. You can't run, he said. You have to finish the loop. I tried to speak, but my mouth filled with frost. My breath came out in shards. Then Wren moved. He grabbed the poker from the fireplace and jammed it under the chair's leg. When the lodge resets, it feeds, he said. We have to break it. He looked at me with eyes that weren't quite human anymore. You remember how you died, don't you? And suddenly I did. The flash of headlights. The rain. The curve too tight on Skyline Drive. Rhys's voice fading in my ear, stay awake, Jay, then nothing. I'd been here before. Every October. Every time, forgetting. Every time, returning. The realization cracked something open inside me. The lodge wasn't a house, it was a loop. A coffin made of moments. And we were the rot that kept it breathing. I tore my hands free, splinters slicing deep into my palms. The room screamed. The lights burst into red. Run! I shouted. The floor split down the middle. Through the gap, the mountain bled darkness, an abyss swallowing the foundations. Glass exploded outward, snow whipping through like ash. We ran. Rhys first, then Dax dragging Gray, Wren behind us. The lodge folded in on itself, beams snapping like ribs. Every step was a memory unraveling, footage of deaths we'd lived too many times. As we reached the door, Caleb stood in the threshold, black eyes empty. If one forgets, he said softly, you all stay. I pushed Rhys through first. The world beyond the door wasn't a forest anymore. It was a tunnel of red fog swirling, whispering our names. Wren hesitated. We won't make it, he said. We never do. Yes, we will, I told him. Just remember. I grabbed his hand. We jumped together. The void swallowed everything. I woke to the sound of machines. White ceiling. Hospital light. The smell of antiseptic and electricity. My body ached like it had been stitched from someone else's parts. A nurse gasped when I opened my eyes. "You're awake," she whispered. "They found you in the wreck." The wreck. Skyline Drive. The rain. The Jeep. The fall. They told me I'd been in a coma 6 days. That my friends hadn't made it. But when I asked their names, the nurse looked confused. "There weren't any others," she said. "You were alone." Yet that night, when the room went dark, I saw them. Reese in the doorway, hair still damp from the snow. Dax leaning against the wall, grinning. Gray tapping his chest where the scar should be. Ren standing at the foot of the bed, hands folded. "You did it," he said. "For now." Then they were gone. October 14th, 2025. The news called it the Blue Ridge 5. 4 people found alive after being declared dead in separate accidents across North Carolina. Each claimed to have woken in the same hospital, same room number, 613. No one could explain it. The press moved on. The mountain stayed quiet. October 11th, 2026, 1 year later. I told myself I wouldn't go. But grief has gravity. The Overlook Grill in Boone was crowded that night. The waitress smiled when I asked for a reservation under Caldwell. She led me to a table near the window, 8 chairs. Reese waved when she saw me. Dax and Gray were already there, arguing over the menu. Ren sat at the end, eyes on the ridge beyond the glass. The snow was falling again. 2 new faces joined us, Mara and Silas. "Study abroad buddies from Prague," Dax said. They smiled too wide. I felt it immediately, the hum beneath the table. The same pulse the lodge had. My stomach turned cold. Reese handed me a menu. "Come on, birthday star," she said. "You made it another year." I hesitated. My seat was at the head of the table. The cushion was warm. A single quail egg bled slowly onto the plate. Ren met my eyes. "Jayden." Mara leaned forward, her grin sharp. "Sit. House rules." I looked toward the window. In the reflection, the ridge waited. The lodge stood whole again, red fog curling at its foundation. Behind it, something vast moved, hungry and patient. I took a breath. The chair creaked beneath my hand. Somewhere, far away, the mountain whispered the only rule that ever mattered. The cycle is hungry again.